Hi, this is Tom Needham. Today on Sounds, we are joined by the director of Dusty and Stones, Jesse Rudoy. We're also joined by Dusty, who's featured in this soulful country music documentary. It's about the duo from African Kingdom of Swaziland, whose unlikely journey is at the center of a powerful new documentary, Dusty and Stones. The film follows Dusty and Stones as they travel from rural southern Africa to the heart of American country music, chasing a dream that's both personal and profound. Their story, equal parts triumphant and also heartbreaking, highlights how music can transcend borders, languages, and expectations. Now available to stream on Amazon and Apple TV, Dusty and Stones is a must watch for anyone who believes in the transformative power of song. Jesse, Dusty, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Hey, we're happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thanks
Yeah,
a lot, man, for having us.
yeah, wow, what a great movie. Dusty, Jesse, tell me about how this idea for a movie came about originally.
Sure. Yeah. The process started now almost 9 years ago, actually. I did not know much about country music at the time, hardly anything. I have a background in DJing and electronic music. That's been kind of my musical world historically, but I was just kind of curious. If there were people outside of the United States who dreamed of country music superstardom and who were, you know, doing everything they could to, realize a dream of becoming established in country music. Just because my association, and I think a lot of people's association of the genre, is that it's an American genre of music, and it's historically and sometimes aggressively been defended and gatekept as white America's music. And so I was just curious, like how where there might be pockets of country music fandom where people um, were sort of had big Nashville dreams despite being, say, in Europe or Africa or Asia or the Caribbean. And so, I just started poking around online, looking for articles, looking for artists' Facebook pages, music videos, and I started building this kind of like database that I had just of country singers that I was finding all over the world. Um, but one day I clicked on this YouTube link that was just the title of it was just African country music. That's all it said,
Hmm.
and it was the music video for Dusty and Stone's song "Home," which was actually the first song they ever wrote and recorded. And the video was and the song were just so striking. They were so different from all of the other um, foreign country music I was finding in terms of um, how good it was, how how a lot of the foreign country music I was finding, a sort of stylistic hallmark was almost that the artists making it were sort of self-conscious of maybe not being from the American South, and so in their singing and in their presentations, they were kind of hiding that. They'd be singing in like a Southern American accent, or they'd be, putting up a Texas flag in a music video, even though they were in Spain or something.
Right.
And and from the moment I heard Dusty and Stone's song "Home" and also the rest of their music, their music was all about being Swati, about being from Swaziland, which we should mention that the country is now known as the Kingdom of Eswatini. It is no longer called Swaziland. Um, but I just thought that was so that made their music stand out, and it was clear that their connection to this genre was not about dressing up or playing cowboy, but it was about being exactly who they were, these Swati cowboys, from Windhoek. So that was a big draw for me.
So, Dusty, can you tell us first off, give us your real name and where you're from, where you grew up, and how you first got into music?
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, man. Well, my name is Gazi Simelane. So Gazi, I would say my official name. Dusty is my stage name. Of course, born in the Kingdom of Eswatini, a couple of years back now. Uh, Country music got into my life, I think I was around 10, 11, 12, somewhere there, or even earlier than that. Uh, my brother, my elder brother, I come after two brothers, but the one that I come after immediately, Stelo, is the one who used to play like country music at home. He had tapes all around, and he was so into this music that he would play it almost daily. And slowly I got attracted to what he was listening to. At first, of course, I couldn't understand the lyrics or the words, but as I grew older, I remember when I now went to my high school. Now I could sort of understand what was said in these lyrics. So to an extent, I discovered that these songs were actually reflecting, or to an extent, they were talking about something that was familiar to me. They were talking about the life that I was living in Moyhook to an extent. Yes, they were American singers reflecting their own experiences in the US. But for me, it didn't sound like that. I could relate to a lot of stories that they were talking about, whether it was Dolly Parton talking about her own Tennessee mountain home. For me, it didn't sound like it was just Tennessee mountain home. It sounded, whatever she was talking about, it sounded like she was talking about things that I saw every day in my hook. So that's how I got hooked to this music, and later to learn how to play the guitar and sing. But earlier it was my brother, and the fact that the subjects of this song were about things that were familiar to me.
You mentioned Dolly Parton. You also talk about Kenny Rogers a lot in the film Johnny Cash. What is it
Yeah.
about their music that appealed to you?
Kenny Rogers is a when you listen to his deep country songs, they are more like storytelling songs. You are listening to The Gambler, it's a story. It's more like a narrative essay. You are listening to this story developing from the start to the end. So it was more like sitting around the fire in the evening, listening to someone tell you how their day went, or a story that they once experienced. So that's what drew me to Kenny Rogers, and of course the way he was, or he sings his music. There are certain techniques that I actually, I would say, stole from the way he sings and from the way he arranges his music, transposing the song from one key to the next. It's one thing I picked from. I used to love that. I still do, I think. So when I also write a song, I like to feel or to inject in some key changes so that the song moves from one key to the next. People like Johnny Cash, his music is so raw, a few instruments, just mainly the acoustic guitar. For me, I love the simplicity of the instrumentation in his music. And of course, the lyrics, the way he writes his songs, they are so deep. And I happen to be someone who teaches literature. So when I analyze the lyrics, the images, the emotions that are actually captured by these songs, to an extent, they also influenced my own songwriting. So it was not just about listening to them. To an extent, they also influenced how we also got to do our own thing, or how we got to also write our own songs.
Is it unusual for people to be into country music where you're from, or is it common?
Uh, well, that's an interesting question. Well, Swaz is generally aware of country music. Let me put it that way. So it's not like something that is so foreign to them. I think because most Swazis, are rural raised. Most of us are from the countryside. As much as now we stay around the city, but most of us we have this connection with our homesteads that are actually way back in the countryside. So, and again, it's an agricultural society. So I would say that background makes country music to be sort of relevant to the lives of most Swazis. Of course, it is not as huge as other genres, but I would say it's a genre that Swazis are so much aware of and are so appreciative of. So I wouldn't say maybe when they hear of country music, they think, what is that? No, they are so much aware.
Hmm. Jesse, one of the
Yeah.
things I love about the movie is the arc of the story. How did you come up with the concept of showing the journey of Dusty and Stones as they embark to go to America to compete in this country music competition?
Um, yeah, I think um, I think when you think of um, going going back to the Greeks, the hero's journey has always been, a tried and true story arc that has captivated audiences for thousands and thousands of years. A protagonist leaving their daily quotidian life to go to another world, sometimes real, sometimes fictional, whether that's the Wizard of Oz or Harry Potter. But watching a person go to another place to fulfill their dreams, to face the some of the biggest challenges they could possibly face. That's always great material for for a story arc. So I knew that being with these guys, not just having them show up in the locations and sort of flipping the camera on when they got there, but as country, but rather sort of accompanying them step by step, getting on the plane, getting off the plane, walking up to these venues, the moments that they got to these locations, because and Dusty can talk more about this, but these, as country fans who had grown up listening to country music, hearing songs about Tennessee and Texas and Mississippi. I mean, the United States was a place that had captivated their imagination for all their, most of their adult lives. So setting foot on American soil for the first time was a big deal, and I think this was at a time where me, myself included as an American, there was just great skepticism about what the United States, what the United States had to offer anyone at this point, just because, politically, um, things have become so fraught and so volatile in the U.S. Certainly then in 2017, and only more so now. So I was curious. I mean, um, what would two guys who still maybe held out pretty high hopes for what America could be, what would that be like to sort of have to come face to face with it and see what the reality of the United States was like? And I think they, in many ways, they experienced um, both the best and the worst of what this country has to offer.
Yeah, definitely the best and the worst. One of the things that's so fascinating as you watch the film is when Dusty, you and Stones arrive. Some things were not exactly what you were expecting. Um, can you tell us what were some of the things that were surprising to you, or even disappointing when you got to America?
Yeah, I think again, especially in Texas. I mean, you are growing up out here. I mean, when you talk about cowboys and country music, people don't think about Nashville. They think Texas. So I mean, be it from, I think it's from the movies and the news. I would think that's what they think. And then so you grow up, and then you've got this imagination, and then you think this is how it is. But when we arrived in Texas, even the event itself wasn't as big as we thought. And we were thinking it was going to be something huge, because we were thinking, okay, we're going to maybe have a chance to see maybe some of these popular guys that we've always dreamed to meet, only to find that it's just something a bit smaller than what we imagined. So that, to an extent, was a bit disappointing. And again, I think dealing with the band, the band scenario there, it was a bit confusing because that's not what we expected. That's not how we were hoping we were going to be treated. But again, the good side of it was in Nashville when we went for that recording. That one was the highlight. That one was
Yeah.
was one moment we really enjoyed it. That's why even in the movie we're not even a bit, we were emotional because here is a song that we wrote in My Hook now being transformed into this fantasy. I mean, it was more like a fantasy coming true because we've always fantasized. I hope this song one day, this is how I want the song to sound. And then those guys just took it, to the stratosphere and made it sound way, way better. So that was the good side. Of course, in Texas, there were good things even in Texas. It's not like everything was horrible, but of course there were, and certain things we got to be aware of them. I mean, when we're back home, that okay, that's at the time we're not aware what certain things meant. Being from where we are. That's what I can say.
Yeah, you mentioned you got very emotional. That was one of the most powerful parts of the movie. When you recorded your song and got to hear it played back the first time when it was all mixed.
Yeah.
Both of you guys were in tears. I felt emotional just watching it. Um, that was very, very powerful. Uh,
Yeah.
can you just expand a little bit more than what you already just said? Why that was such a monumental moment for you?
Okay. The song itself, what the song is about the people who raised us, our grandparents. And, personally, my parents never lived long enough to see me achieve this. So my grandparents, to an extent, became my parents. So these are both our grandparents, me and Stones. So here's a song where I'm just talking about how they fell in love on the bank of a particular river and how their story is a reflection of this endless river that still flows today, because that's what I saw in their lives, that they had this unending love of each other until they passed away. So for me, it was all these factors coming together. Like when I wrote this song, I didn't think, I never thought this would happen. And I was also thinking about my grandparents, like in their wildest dreams, would they have ever thought that one day in a studio in Nashville, these music pickers would be playing so perfectly a song about them? So, when you start to imagine all these things, and at the same time, I'm thinking about my mom, at the same time, I'm thinking about my father, these people who are no longer here, but I'm just thinking, whatever they are, I think they can see what is happening. So it was just an intersection of all these emotions and thoughts and ideas, because that song is not a song that is imaginary. It's a song that is real. It captures a real story, a story about real people, and it was happening in a place so far away from where they were, and they wouldn't have thought that in the US, a song about them would be perfectly recorded. So yeah, that's what I can say about that moment.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Jesse, did you know when they were going to this country music festival what the festival was like? They seemed surprised that it was in a tent, that it wasn't as well attended as one might think. I don't know what everybody was expecting, but I think later on you said like it should be in this place. You were in some country music bar. That seemed like it would be a nice location for it. But Jesse,
Yeah.
did you know any more than they did before arriving?
Um, I had checked it out myself. I had gone down there and seen the location. Um, so I knew it wasn't like the CMAs or anything like that, but I mean, I had asked about attendance and sort of what to expect, and I was told in that 700 people were expected to come, which
Mm,
which which unfortunately was a big overestimate of how many people actually showed up. I mean, And the surprising thing was is that there were lots of artists there from all over the world who came to this, but Dusty and Stones were the only artists that had a documentary crew following them, documenting the whole thing, and the festival decided to switch their time slot, which had initially been set for Friday night, to Thursday. So I mean, think about you know any event. Friday is going to a
Mm.
weekend night is going to be better attended than the Thursday night, and yet they got switched to the last minute. So I mean, um,
Why?
I think because of scheduling, maybe because they were using the house band and then they wanted, or I don't know. I mean, I think maybe another artist complained or something. Is that another artist might have complained that she didn't want to play on Friday? So I don't know. It just all of a sudden was happening, and I mean it obviously added great drama and suspense to the film that we hadn't anticipated, but we also hadn't expected that we'd be shooting 6 hours of footage that day, because we thought, oh, we're just going to film this rehearsal that they're doing, and then the big show's tomorrow, and then all of a sudden we found out, oh no, we're filming the big show tonight.
Mm.
It was hectic for us too.
Well, I don't want to give away the ending of the film,
Uh,
but I know that this film has been shown all over the country. It's very very popular. I was wondering, Dusty, we talked about that moment when you got to see and hear your track recorded and how
Mhm.
incredible it was, how moving. When you finally got to see the movie for the first time, was that a similar moment for you?
Oh yes, man, it was. Uh, it was yeah, it was emotional too because we didn't know what Jesse would include. We didn't know how he was going to go about editing the whole thing. But to finally see the whole picture and to actually see the story now, because it was more like now this film was telling a story. When we were busy shooting, we just thought Jesse was just gathering clips here and there. But to see the whole thing come together, it was just beautiful, man. It was, and the fact for me again, it was the fact that everyone now was going to be alive in this movie forever. I think when it came out, some people were no longer with us. So you can imagine seeing them there and knowing that you will always see them laugh, you always see them say something. So it's more like a preservation of their lives. So it was so moving. And to also think that, okay, the world is going to see this, something we never thought would ever happen. So it was just for me a realization that wow, this dream is coming true. Now people are going to get to know who we are, and even better in film now versus maybe through other means. So it was emotional, and I think for me it just looked perfect. I remember just wanted to know if there were scenes we felt, oh, he could have included. I remember telling him that for me, I don't think there's something that I wish he would have included. I think he was able to actually include everything which I thought was relevant.
It's very hard making a documentary, and a director
Yeah.
has to earn the trust of the people who one's filming. Can the two of you just talk about the process a little bit? How you worked together? Were there any ground rules? Any problems in the filming? Tell me about the experience working together.
um, yeah, I mean, I think one of the key things that I shared with Dusty and Stones, despite growing up in totally different places and entirely different cultures, was my own front journey with music and music making, and having played empty shows myself, and sort of very much in touch with what it was like to sort of lay awake at night and wonder if music would become a sustainable and meaningful part of your life, and if people were ever going to hear the music that you were making. I think I I related to them that I knew what that experience was like, and so I was sure that if nothing else, I could tell that part of their story with a certain sensitivity and with a certain shared knowledge of those hardships. But in a way, Eswatini is so far away from where I am here in New York. I I wish, in a way, I wish I had been able to ease into the process a little bit more and sort of go out there and meet them and hang out and sort of get a lay of the land. Just sort of because of budget and logistics, we sort of went out. I went out there with the crew. We sort of met, after having corresponded on the phone, and online for a couple of months. And sort of we met, we had dinner. There was like a nice, warm, like welcoming celebration, and then the next day we were off to the races in terms of filming. And in retrospect, I wish we had eased into that more, as I'm saying. But to their credit, I think they went with it and were really generous with their time and also sort of they opened up their community and family to also participating in the interview, and said, these are the guys who are coming to tell our story. If they want to speak to you, hopefully you can make some time for them, which a lot of people did, which was really amazing. But I don't know. I think things really solidified when we came to the U.S. Going on a road trip with someone is the fastest way to
Yeah.
a deep and meaningful friendship, and so once we were, yeah, traveling through Texas and Tennessee together, and
Yeah.
waking up and having breakfast, and when Dusty and Stones are tipsy or drunk in the film, you can imagine that behind the camera we're a little bit drunk and tipsy too. I mean, we were really doing it all together. So that was the part or the process for me where we sort of became, the relationship and sort of trust and bond entered a new, um, more intimate territory.
And Dusty, do you want to say anything about the process?
Yeah, I think for me, I would give Jesse, the credit, because I think, first of all, me and Stone didn't know what a documentary looks like when you are the one who's being followed all around. I mean, by cameras. But I think he was able to just explain it plainly and simply for us. And one thing I think I appreciate the most was the fact that I think I appreciate that Jesse didn't have much of country music background, because I remember that at first I was thinking, oh, he's not like a country fan at first, because I think to an extent, I think maybe that could have made him to be, I don't know, just my assumption, probably being judgmental of
Mm,
whatever we're doing. But I think him coming objectively, I think I liked that, because it's like he himself was, you know, learning certain things along the way. So that is why he was capturing everything. It's not like he was targeting that and not that. And I think as early in the process, he was able to just make us feel at ease, the feel of having, a lapel mic on your chest and cameras all around, even around the school where I teach. I think he was able to just make me feel, comfortable. And he explained everything. So I think we just trusted him from the word go. And we'll always appreciate him for that.
yeah. Jesse, the one thing that you said that I can really relate to, and I think probably a lot of people who see this movie will, anyone who is in a band or tries to put on events, that idea of, is anyone going to show up? So many bands are struggling. So many filmmakers are struggling. It's really hard to put oneself out there and give it one's all, and you just don't know. And I think this film has a universal appeal in that regard. And I really appreciate Dusty, how you were willing to share your story. We do have to wrap this up, but I was wondering, what has the film done for you in terms of your country music career? Has it helped at all?
Oh, big time, man. Big time. We've had like invitations from festivals. Even here in our country, there are big festivals. and it was impossible to get slots before. But because of this film, I'm telling you, we are now like the big guys. So it's like,
Wow.
I don't know, we've played all the festivals now in the country due to this film, especially because it was also played here. So people be to an extent aware of it. So it really made, even in Africa, in Africa, I would say right now, because people have been following the whole process through social media and all that, it has made us, to be, I would say, respected in the country music community, whether it's some white people or black people, as long as they do country music, they know to an extent about Dust and Stones. So we are so much appreciative. And the fact that the story has been, the film has been seen all over the world. So to an extent, we know that there are people somewhere, and people do reach out on Instagram through all these social media platforms to tell us that we've seen your film, you guys, we love your music and all that. So we are so much appreciated. I don't think that could have happened if such didn't happen. So I think the film really pushed our brand.
Well, that's such a cool outcome. Can the two of you,
Mm.
talking about social
Wait,
media?
but can we talk about the Opry? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
that
Oh yeah.
that's the biggest thing that's happened is that in 2023, when the film was on the festival circuit, someone from the Opry happened to see it in Atlanta, um, and Dusty and Stones got invited to make their Opry debut, which
Man,
was
that's
unreal.
incredible. That's incredible.
And you can see that on
Yeah.
that's up on YouTube, and there's a great news story about it.
Well, Dusty, congratulations, and Jesse, fantastic job with this film.
Thanks.
Can the two of you
Thanks,
tell
man.
our listeners where on social media and on the internet they can find out information about both of your careers?
Well, for Dustin Stones, we have an account on Instagram. It's Dusty underscore and underscore Stones. So that's how you can access us on Instagram. We also have a fan page on Facebook, just Dustin Stones. Even on YouTube, we are Dustin Stones. There you can access our music. And on Facebook, and on Instagram, we do update on what we are doing, on what we will be doing. Like right now, we'll be releasing a new song. So yeah, people can check it out on those platforms.
And Jesse?
Yeah, well, I hope everyone can go. The film is newly available to stream on Amazon and Apple, so I hope everyone will go stream Dusty and Stones there. And then yeah, there's an Instagram page, Dusty and Stones Film. I'm on Instagram at J Rudoy, Rudoy. Um, and then yeah, and Letterboxd. If anyone is on Letterboxd, there's a Letterboxd page for the film too, Dusty and Stones. So
Well, I absolutely love this movie. I highly recommend it. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
thanks for having us.
Thank you.